Ever wondered why there are ashtrays in airplane toilets even though smoking is strictly prohibited on flights? You're not alone in this puzzle. Despite the stern, no smoking rule on board, you'll find an ashtray in every airplane toilet. Seems contradictory, right? Well, it's not an oversight or a relic from the past. This is actually a requirement by the Federal Aviation Administration. It's a safety measure, believe it or not. Even with the strict rules and regulations, there's always the chance that someone might decide to sneak a smoke in the toilet. If that happens, it's far safer to have an ashtray available for them to dispose of the cigarette, rather than risking a potential fire by having them toss it into a trash bin full of paper towels. So, the presence of ashtrays isn't an invitation to smoke, but a safety measure for those who might break the rules. Blank pages in books, ever thought about why they exist? Let's delve into the secret behind these seemingly pointless pages. It turns out these blank pages aren't just there to create a thicker book or to confuse readers. They are actually a result of the printing process. You see, books are typically printed on large sheets of paper, which are then folded into smaller sections, often in multiples of 4, 8, or 16. These sections are then cut and bound together to form the book. Sometimes the number of pages in the book doesn't perfectly align with these multiples, and that's when blank pages sneak in. But that's not all. These blank pages also have practical uses. For instance, readers often use them for making notes or marking important sections. They can also serve to provide a pause or a breather between different sections or chapters, giving the reader a chance to reflect on what they've just read. In some cases, blank pages are intentionally left by the author or publisher to create a certain aesthetic or to give the book a sense of completeness. So those blank pages aren't just filling space, they're part of the book's design. Have you ever sneezed uncontrollably when stepping into a brightly lit area? If so, you're not alone. This strange phenomenon is known as the photic sneeze reflex, and it's believed to affect up to 1 in 3 people worldwide. But why does this happen? Well, the answer lies within our brain. It's thought that the photic sneeze reflex is caused by what scientists call crossed wires. In essence, our brains sometimes get a little confused. You see, the optic nerve, which is responsible for our vision, is located very close to the trigeminal nerve, which triggers sneezing. When we're suddenly exposed to a bright light, our optic nerve sends a strong signal. And sometimes, the signal can spill over into the nearby trigeminal nerve. This miscommunication within our brain tricks it into thinking that we need to sneeze. And so we do. It's a fascinating example of how complex and interconnected our bodies truly are. So the next time you sneeze stepping into the sun, remember, it's just your brain's wires getting crossed. Why does hair turn gray and eventually white as we age? It's a question that's crossed many minds, as we notice those first few silver strands in our mirrors. Well, the answer lies in our biology. Our hair color is determined by pigment produced by cells known as melanocytes. These cells are like tiny factories, dutifully pumping out pigment that gives our hair its distinctive hue. But like all good things, this pigment production can't last forever. Over time, these melanocytes begin to degrade, gradually slowing down and eventually stopping their pigment production. This degradation is a natural part of the cell's life cycle. As the pigment production slows, our hair begins to lose its color, appearing first as gray. As the melanocytes continue to degrade, eventually ceasing pigment production entirely, our hair turns from gray to white. So contrary to popular belief, it's not necessarily age that turns our hair gray and then white. It's the life cycle of our cells. Graying hair is less about age and more about the life cycle of our cells. Ever noticed the gust of air when entering a building? Ever wondered why it's there? Well, let's dive into the purpose of these so-called air doors. They are an ingenious solution for maintaining a steady temperature within buildings. Imagine this, it's a scorching hot day, and every time the door opens, warm air rushes in, challenging the building's air conditioning system. An air door acts like an invisible barrier, keeping the cool air in and the hot air out. But temperature control isn't its only function. Air doors also act as a guard against unwanted intruders, and by intruders we mean insects, dust, and trash. The powerful gust of air discourages these elements from entering the building, promoting a cleaner indoor environment. So isn't it fascinating how something as simple as a gust of air can play such a significant role in our comfort and hygiene? Next time you feel that gust of air, remember it's working hard to keep the building clean and comfortable. What causes that fluttery sensation of butterflies in your stomach? It's not just a quirky metaphor for feeling nervous or excited. This sensation is a tangible reaction from your body, specifically an aspect of the fight or flight response. When we're faced with a situation that seems threatening or simply requires quick reaction, our body kicks into high gear. One of the ways it prepares is by redirecting blood flow away from non-essential areas, like the gut. This sudden shift creates a strange, fluttery sensation, like a swarm of butterflies fluttering their wings. It's your body's way of saying, it's time to act. So those butterflies aren't just nerves, they're your body preparing for action. Why does it hurt so much when you apply rubbing alcohol to a cut? This question might resonate with many of us who've experienced that sharp sting while disinfecting a wound. Well, the answer lies in our body's very own temperature sensors, known as VR1 receptors. When we apply rubbing alcohol to a cut, it lowers the threshold at which these VR1 receptors are activated. Under normal circumstances, these receptors respond to higher temperatures, essentially alerting our bodies to potentially harmful heat. However, rubbing alcohol reduces the temperature that these receptors respond to, causing them to activate even at our body's normal temperature. This activation of VR1 receptors sends signals to our brain, which interprets them as a stinging sensation. So the sting you feel isn't just the alcohol working its disinfecting magic, but also a reaction of your body's own temperature receptors, misinterpreting the normal body heat as something potentially harmful. So rubbing alcohol's sting isn't just pain, it's a reaction to your body's temperature receptors. Why does orange juice taste awful after brushing your teeth? It's a question that has puzzled many of us during our breakfast routines. The culprit behind this unpleasant phenomenon is a foaming agent found in most toothpaste called sodium lauryl sulfate, or SLS for short. SLS is a surfactant, which creates that frothy effect when you brush, helping to spread the toothpaste evenly across your teeth. But it also has a less desirable impact on your taste buds. SLS temporarily suppresses your sweet receptors and breaks down phospholipids, a fatty compound in your saliva that inhibits bitter tastes. So, when you take a gulp of orange juice after brushing, your sweet receptors are on a short break, thanks to SLS, making the sweetness of the juice undetectable. Meanwhile, the absence of phospholipids means there's nothing to keep the juice's bitterness in check, causing that distinctively awful taste. The good news is this effect is temporary and your taste buds will return to normal as the SLS is washed away. So it's not the orange juice that's at fault, it's the foamy residue from your toothpaste. The age-old question, why is the sky blue? This curiosity has puzzled many for centuries. It all comes down to the phenomenon known as Rayleigh scattering. As sunlight reaches our planet, it interacts with molecules in the Earth's atmosphere. This sunlight is made up of different colors, each with varying wavelengths. Blue light, with its shorter wavelength, is scattered in all directions by the oxygen and nitrogen molecules in our atmosphere. This scattered blue light reaches our eyes from all over the sky, more so than other colors with longer wavelengths. That's why when we gaze up, the sky appears predominantly blue. It's not that the sky itself is blue, but rather the way the sunlight interacts with our atmosphere that gives it that beautiful azure hue. So the next time you look up at the sky, remember, it's blue because of the way our atmosphere scatters sunlight. Well, there you have it. Answers to 10 baffling questions you've always wondered about. We've delved into the intriguing world of oddities and discovered why ashtrays still exist in airplane toilets. We've unraveled the secret behind those seemingly pointless blank pages in books. We've shed light on the strange phenomenon that makes us sneeze when transitioning from a dim to a brightly lit environment. We've explained the science behind the graying of hair and the purpose of air doors in maintaining a building's temperature. We've explored the physiological changes that give you those fluttering butterflies in your stomach when you're nervous. We've even explained the sting you feel when applying rubbing alcohol to a cut, and why orange juice tastes absolutely horrendous after brushing your teeth. And of course, we've tackled the age-old question, why is the sky blue? These fascinating facts remind us that the world is filled with wonders waiting to be explored. Remember to subscribe to Unbelievable Top 10 for more fascinating answers to your most baffling questions.